then you watch a game like tonight and LeBron kicked his ass. He's not ready to be a top 15 guy, but he really, really, really gives a shit about every game. It's great. I love it. This is a long, sustained offensive excellence that when you watch it feels legitimate. We're not going to be nice. What do we care? We're just these, let's call it what it is. These are the faces of two guys who just lost a decent amount of money. Cousin Sal is here. It is Sunday night. We just watched the Ravens barely lose to the Buffalo Bills, which I guess is going to be remembered, sadly, as the Mark Andrews game, right? That'll be what we call it.
It was going to be, and then it maybe wasn't going to be, right? And then he solidified it. He's like, no, this is all me.
No, we're going to name this after me. Really good tight end, had a great career, and unfortunately, big fumble fourth quarter. Big drop, 2-pointer. Lamar, 3:30 left. The whole legacy drive coming. You know, like whatever happens is going to set the discourse. And where it lands is he actually comes through. They have a touchdown drive, but then they lose anyway. So I don't know what we do with the Lamar thing. I was thinking about it, though, as we were like younger. When we would watch sports, we'd watch like people like Karl Malone and A-Rod and pre-2006 Peyton Manning, people like that. And it was like really fun to call people chokers and, oh, this guy chokes. Oh, and this guy, when it matters, he can't show up. And it was like this really fun pre-internet thing that we would do.
Being at the game, you could do it. There was nothing better than putting your hands around your neck, your own neck.
You either came through or you didn't. You were either on this group or this group. And that's just kind of the way we talked about sports before the discourse got smarter. But now, as I get older, I feel like I'm rooting for people not to fall in that bucket, to not be the Karl Malone, Greg Norman, A-Rod, Chris Webber. And I'm watching Lamar and I'm like, after the first two turnovers, I'm like, God damn, if he loses this game, it's really hard. You're on letdown mountain now, and it's really hard to get off. Weren't you thinking about that?
I was, but I also thought the Ravens were unfairly favored in this game, right? I thought the Bills should have gone into this game when we did this last Sunday night. I was like, the Bills should be, they're a better team. They were treated like they were the 7 seed, like they had just won the NFC South, like they're getting 1.5 points or whatever at home. I know it flipped from Sunday night. So I thought this is as much a problem for Josh Allen and his legacy as Lamar. But you're right, except for one thing, the discourse is not smarter. The discourse is garbage lately. It's terrible. True. Yeah, it's awful. True. People don't know how to watch games anymore. But I did feel bad for him for sure. But again, it wasn't his fault. So in a way, he gets a pass, right? Except for the turnovers.
Well, he was the reason they could never get in front in the first place. He had tailed the pick. It's set. They score in the first drive. Buffalo comes back and scores. Baltimore has the ball again. They just look like they're in control. The running game hasn't even gotten going yet. And then he sails a pick 20 yards over somebody's head to the safety. And they come back from commercial and Romo's saying how this is Matt Milano. He forced that pressure. And I'm watching. I'm like, I don't think so. I think Lamar just like gacked the play and just sailed the play. Yeah. And then later that fumble he had when they're driving and it was a bad snap, picks it up and ends up getting stripped. But that was like, that was like a Mac Jones fumble. That was like a Dorian Thompson Robinson fumble. That's like, these are the shitty quarterbacks we watched during the season. They make stupid plays like that. You're not supposed to make a play like that in this game when it's like the best quarterback in the league versus the best quarterback in the league. Neither guy is Patrick Mahomes, but it was this big showdown and just two crappy plays. And it just felt like the whole game was off after that.
I know it's more exciting to be outraged, but can I defend him and some of the others we saw turn the ball over today?
Yeah, it was 12 degrees.
It's fucking cold. It's fucking cold out. It is. So we're on text chains with people like, what happened to the Eagles defense down the stretch? Why they didn't look like that at all? Well, it's cold and they're exhausted. Like that's why they gave up the touchdown for the backdoor cover and almost a touchdown to go ahead. Why isn't Henry in there every play when he's running so well? Well, it's cold. So maybe they need a break. So I think we forget about the human element. It's cold. The ball is so shiny. It's easier to fumble. That was a great hit by Bernard on Andrews to force the fumble, but that would be my excuse for Lamar. But it doesn't really help Ravens fans right now. I know.
I thought they were a better team.
You did.
That's a great game. I mean, that's such a great win for Buffalo. 3 turnovers to none. Baltimore misses both 2-point conversions. 2 plays that I didn't like. right? The first one felt a little rushed. Neither one of them was just, we're going to ram the ball down your throats and score. The second one, you're rolling Lamar out. It felt like the entire defense was going. He did have Andrews open, but that's not an easy play. It's 10 degrees outside. It's freezing. He's already fumbled a play before. He's falling backwards. We've seen guys drop that. It wasn't like an absolute, he should have caught it, but it wasn't a layup. But
also his ass was hanging out too, kind of. It really was. He was almost naked. I don't know what happened.
Well, how about this? How many times did the Ravens punt today?
Did they not punt? I know it either ended on a turnover or a
zero punts,
a score. Yeah,
zero punts, 3 turnovers. They missed 2 points. And yet it felt like if it got to overtime, I thought they were going to win. And I thought they did a good job against Buffalo in the second half too. Like, Allen had a chance to put the game away in that last drive when they're up. What was they? They were up 5.
Right.
And they ran that same QB draw. It was like when I played Madden against Ben and he's just running the same play. And I'm like, by the 4th quarter, I'm like, oh, you're going to run the play where you do this and just put 2 guys there. He ran the QB draw 7 times.
Yeah,
and they finally were ready for it. They had to kick the field goal, and it felt like they just left the door open a tiny bit. Plus, it was a great weekend for weird gambling shit. Baltimore -1.5.
Great or terrible.
Lingering the whole time. The moment they missed the 2-point, it's like, of course, they're going to win 25-24.
Right when they try the 2-point conversion to tie it up, you're like, there's no freaking way they're going to get it. Otherwise, the spread wouldn't have been 1.5. Like, I wish I could live bet the 2-point conversion, but yeah. Right. Yeah, that was bad. Yeah.
And then Jake Elliott in the game before, just a random missed PAT out of nowhere. Now they're up 13 instead of 14. They're favored by 6.5. It's like, of course the Rams are going to score. This is preordained now. And then the KC one was the worst one.
The absolute worst. Yeah. Yeah. So, I don't know where to go with it. I'll say this though. I feel like the game could change no matter what. Like, you could change what a catch is. You could change replay, what it can cover, what it doesn't. You could add stick 'em to gloves. But the one thing's a constant, and especially in the playoffs, if you have more turnovers than the other team, it's unforgiving. It really is. I mean, Allen had 125 yards passing. Hurts had about the same. If I would have told you in the beginning of the game, hey, at the beginning of the day, those 2 guys are not even combined for 260 yards, how much money would we have put on the other sides? Like, right, I guess we would have covered with the Rams, but it is unbelievable, tried and true. You turn the ball over, especially on the road in the playoffs, you're going to lose a game.
Allen, 127 yards passing. Cook, 67 yards. Allen was 10 for 20 rushing. Shakir was their best receiver at 67 yards. The next guy had 15. And they won. The Ravens finished with 416 yards. Buffalo had 273. And they won. But that's the thing. It's like I lost I lost the Lions because the big tease. I had the Lions with the other 3 favorites. I had a bet today with the Chiefs and I had the Chiefs and the Eagles combined. I had the Eagles and Ravens. So I scrambled back in real life a little. But the 2 games that I had wrong were the Lions and the Ravens. I'm not even positive I had them wrong because it's just what you said. It's like turnovers. Right. Okay, the one that we always talk about, like 9 out of 10 times you can kind of have a feel for a football game, and then that 10th time is the wonk game. And this game felt wonky, but that's the thing. It's 12 degrees and it's in Buffalo. And that's why so many people pick Buffalo. It's like Josh Allen home. They're used to this weather. And that was it. But man, I thought the Ravens were the best team in the league. I really did. I thought they were the best. And
I felt
they're going home before round 3.
Yeah. I mean, Derrick Henry's great. He was the steal of free agency, but I was looking at this line and I was like, he has just as many games under 100 yards than he has over. They're a little bit fraudulent in the 4 teams they beat over the last month. The offenses they played, like Pittsburgh twice. Who was it? The Browns and the Texans on that dumb Christmas game where they scored 2. So I don't know. I was like, maybe they could figure Henry out, and they didn't. I know he had those big drives and he'll end up with decent numbers, but they held him to like 26 yards, I think, in the first half, and that was good enough to have that lead. What was it, 21-10?
Yeah.
They held on to that. That was huge.
And getting the ball at the top of the 3rd quarter. Yeah, Henry and Hill combined were 22 for 134. Lamar was 6 for 39 just for rushing. Right. But they were doing most of the stuff they wanted to do on offense. The first Lamar pick was egregious. The fumble was stupid. And then the Andrews fumble, they were driving. It felt like, they had at least, I should have written this down, but I felt like they had at least four like 25-yard pass plays,
Yeah.
right? They had at least, I'm going to say 4 or 5 runs of 10 to 20 yards, but
A
between
couple
Hill
big
and
ones to
Henry.
Andrews,
Yeah. If I'm
even
Buffalo,
without the
I'm like,
fumble.
holy shit, we're the Bills. We never win games like this. This is a
Right.
fucking miracle. This
Yeah.
is usually, if you bring in the Buffalo Bills history, it's, Andrews fumbles that 2 point, but then he holds on to it. OT, coin flip. Baltimore wins it. They go down. They win the game. Or
You
I
need a
guess,
missed
in
field
the
goal in there
playoffs,
for
you had to come back
Buffalo.
the other way. Yeah,
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
They win in
Buffalo.
OT. It's like, oh my God. I mean, when Tyler Bass hit that long field goal, even then, I was like, oh, that's unusual for Buffalo. So maybe the vibes are shifting for them. This was your Super Bowl pick.
Yeah, well, I had him with the Lions, so I feel like it's already a bust. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I think I thought they were undervalued in this game, and maybe they weren't the better team. But the Ravens took too long to get going, and those turnovers
Too long.
absolutely killed them.
Yeah, so they had that first great TD drive. They had the pick. They had the fumble. They had the first and goal from the 2 when they just for whatever reason just went backwards and ended up getting a
Yeah,
field goal instead of a touchdown. They had that 3rd and 12 from Buffalo 29 in the third quarter when they were down 11, and they just get a delay a game. Now it's 3rd and 17. They get 5. They kick a field goal instead. But it was a lot of like little Raven stuff that usually if they lose a game like this, it's the stuff that happens. It's the
yeah,
reason they had the 5 losses during this season when you could look at all 5 and be like, I'm not sure they should have lost that game. But
right.
that's who they are. I felt like with the 2 tight ends, with the way they could run the ball and with the way Lamar could just kind of take off and scramble, they seemed kind of unstoppable and they could just kind of never keep it going for more than 5 minutes.
Yeah, you didn't see that Lamar gigantic scramble in the second half or like the fourth quarter, right? I mean, he was
No.
that was there for them in the first half when Henry wasn't really doing it on the ground. So yeah, they just
Even
like you
like that
said.
big kick return at the end, they get it to the 35, 33 holding penalty. Now they're starting at the 12.
Right.
But I don't know. Obviously, we've never played football at the highest possible level in 12-degree weather
Speak for
when it's
yourself.
snowing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how to factor that in.
I know. Like I said, it's not fun and it's not highbrow Warren Sharp type analysis saying it's too cold for these guys. But I think a lot of it is that. And it made for great viewing, right? That was fun. We watched the Rams Eagles together in the snow. We've got 2
All 4 games were
back-to-back snow
excellent.
games. Yeah.
I even thought Chiefs Texans was pretty good. So the Ravens heading into this game since 2018, including the playoffs, were 0-9 when they were trailing by 10 plus points at halftime.
Mm.
And now they're 0-10. And the only other team that is winless during that span is the Oakland, LA, Vegas Raiders, 0-26.
Wow.
So no comebacks, 10 plus. And I guess that's the Lamar era, right? 2018 on. And yet I thought they were going to win. And I felt like it was going to happen. And especially when he made that improv play on the final drive to Wallace, when he ran out, bought some time, hit him over the middle. I was like, okay, Lamar, here we go.
Yeah, like Wallace. I forgot he was on the wow, that's the biggest catch of the game. But yeah, I think you're right. And I thought you were gonna go after Harbaugh a little there. It's like that is a little weird for a coach who's held in such high regard to now be double digits losses with down 10 at the break.
Their last Super Bowl win was Deer Antler Ray Lewis season, right?
Yeah.
So that was
that was 9 years ago,
11
right?
years ago, 10 years ago. This
11?
Super
New Orleans?
the blackout. Yeah. 14,
Right.
15, where I was at Grantland, you were working for doing stuff for Grantland. So
yeah, I
it was
thought
10,
we
11
went
years
together.
ago.
Yeah, House and I are doing the anniversary of House Eats 3. That's when it was, right? It was in New Orleans. I think it was.
What do you mean you're doing the anniversary of House Hits 3? You're going to try to throw up on House again?
I'm going to try. It's happening. It's happening this time. No.
Well, so I don't know where Lamar ends up now because he's definitely not on that Karl Malone level, but he also really needs one of these games. And it felt like he was finally going to get it. And there's this whole alternate universe where Mark Andrews just holds on to that one. And we move into this whole other sliding doors of more Buffalo pain. Oh my God. And now we have this Bills Chiefs game, which we'll talk about when we do Guess the Lines. But the Chiefs, this all somehow worked out. I feel the best for them out of anybody, right?
Son of a bitch.
There's 4 teams left. I feel the best about the Chiefs, the team that we kind of looked at side-eyed for 12 weeks, wondering what the hell was going on with them. And now I like them the most.
And we still will. And we'll spend the next 6 days trying to convince ourselves, all right, the Bills can win this. Yeah, the Bills are going to win this going away. But yeah, it's they are just too hard to beat. And I know everyone wants to take the refs, and I don't know. I don't know what to say. Like you know, I have a friend, Harry, and he is just so ridiculous with these refs, and he'll like bring a petition in front of Arrowhead Stadium because he thinks it's so fixed for the Chiefs. I was like, just shut up already. And then I watched this game. I'm like, those are some bad calls. I still don't think the Texans played well enough to win. But I was like, my God, that's 3 or 4 bad calls, and they need to do something.
They're these keep a drive alive calls, which is like that Will Anderson allegedly hitting Mahomes in the head or whatever that play was when he didn't, which feels like if we're going to review everything in the NBA and not nearly enough in the NFL, it feels like there's some sort of middle ground where they could look at that again and go, oh yeah, he didn't hit Mahomes.
Listen, they review touchdowns, right? They review turnovers. A 15-yard penalty, the way these guys are kicking the ball from 55, 58 yards, it almost always puts you in field goal range. So it is a scoring play, essentially. I'll say that. And the other thing I'll say is Mahomes, like he's such a master of taking a late hit or maybe not a late hit. First of all, when he turns into the hash mark and takes a hit, that looked like a Madden glitch there. So if he's getting away with that, that's terrible. But the sideline crap where he's just falling over, it's like, remember like Steven Seagal, like 15 years ago, they show these highlights of him doing the bullshit Aikido or whatever it is. And he's barely touching people.
Painted and goatee.
Yeah. And they're doing cartwheels like they were hit by a snowplow. Like that's what Mahomes is doing on the sideline. Like I think they need to call flopping too now, like they do in the NBA and soccer.
I can't believe I'm about to say this because I hate it in basketball and I hate it in soccer, but I really hate it in basketball. Like especially during the glory days of this with Harden and Trae Young and some of these people, I just hated it. I kind of enjoy when Mahomes does it because he's turned it into some art form that we didn't know existed. That one play when he was running out of bounds and he had the guy behind him and he slowed down like he was trying to get a call on a 3-point shot. I've never seen a quarterback do that before. Like the fact that he is so locked in on the situations at all time, or when he does the quick slides as the guy's starting to dive, hoping to get a hit to the head. He's exploited these rules that were, intended to protect all quarterbacks, including him. And he's taken it and he's turned it against the defense in this really creative way. I got to respect it.
I guess so. I respect the art form. There are people who like diarrhea on a canvas and be like, hey, $300,000 for this. Like, I don't know. It's kind of shitty.
It's like those people that they do the clear magic marker on their license plate so that the speeding cameras can't catch it. It's like, I got to respect it. It's pretty ingenious.
All right.
He has like 5 tricks like that, but here's the thing, and I was on multiple texts this weekend, and I go nuts when people say this. And we were together for the first game, and somebody said it when we were all together. This whole thing that he's inherited the Tom Brady Patriots getting every call
I know you don't
thing.
like that. Yeah.
This drives me crazy. This drives me crazy.
I'm gonna keep saying it.
I was there for all those Patriot games. Sure, the tuck rule, which was, by the way, interpreted correctly, but we are the only team where the team we had a Deflategate fake controversy as we were trying to win a Super Bowl, and then we won the Super Bowl, and then they suspended our quarterback way later anyway, and there's still no evidence. Like everything has been debunked. We had a 4-game suspension. It's like, I'm positive that hasn't happened to Patrick Mahomes yet. So everybody settled down.
That part's right. It can both be right that he was like babied as a quarterback on some of these late hits.
So was Peyton Manning. So was Aaron Rodgers. What star quarterback wasn't babied?
I'm mostly with you because I don't think these teams
Brady was whiny.
Anyway.
I will fully admit that he would get whiny and he would turn and he would yell at the rest, but Peyton Manning did too. Both of them did. Wasn't like it wasn't like Brady was the only one.
Well, maybe Lamar Jackson maybe they should teach a course and Lamar Jackson should pick it up. and Jared Goff should pick up the same thing. I don't know.
I'm in a defending Brady mode because even like his announcing, which has not been great. I'll be the first one to admit. And I know we've talked about it, but he does have moments of insight during the game.
We should hope so. Yeah.
For $37 million a year. But there are moments like he caught the 12 men on the field. I've never seen an announcer catch that before.
That was nice.
He had, I thought, when Goff threw that interception on the post pass, the deep one, and Brady was explaining like it actually was the right throw, but he should have led him right to left because he threw it straight. He allowed the cornerbacks love cutting that pass. And I was like, okay, here we go, Tom Brady.
Don't throw a terrible ball. Yeah.
And then it's 5 more minutes of him just talking about big play, got to get this. And, you know, and like, God damn it. But I blame Burkhardt as much as Brady because I don't think Burkhardt sets him up enough.
Oh, I think he was helping, doing all he could in the beginning, but I don't know. It's fine. It's fine. I was like,
he's no Collinsworth. Yeah, he's no Collinsworth.
Bill, how are you going to be as good as me? There's just no way.
They were going to go through the back door, Mike, and now they're going through the front door. The Rams might take this, Mike.
Mike, my balls are so frostbitten. I don't think I'm going to feel them until March, to be honest.
Like I lost consciousness 5 minutes ago, Mike. Let's take a break for the podcast. We'll stay here on the YouTube feed. So Chiefs Texans, we'll go backwards. I'd like kudos to ESPN. First network ever to play In the Air Tonight by Phil Collins before a sporting event. Nobody ever thought of it. They should try Pressure by David Bowie the next time, or Queen. That would be good.
Or Billy Joel's Pressure. Yeah.
Or Billy Joel's Pressure. Yeah. There's songs I'm just good with now. Songs that we like, that we've grown up with, that should just be banned from sports now. And I feel like I've been doing this for 10 years, but we're really at a crisis point. In the Air Tonight, Pressure. There's a couple, anything from pre-'89, just get it out. Let's go.
Really?
Let's move to music from the last 35 years. We can do it. I'm positive. Let's go. There's been a lot of good music.
It makes me feel good. I just if I have to pretend to be bopping along to Jay-Z while they show highlights going into halftime.
Jay-Z would be great. Fine. That's the last 35 years.
It's fine, but it's not Pressure. It's not any of the pressures.
In the Air Tonight. I honestly cannot believe we're still playing
the drum solo. They just do the drum solo after every play.
So that Chiefs Texans game starts with a long special teams play, followed by the Texans guy has like a meltdown, throws his helmet down, shoves his coach, and the game has barely started. And the Chiefs go 3 and out. It's 3-0. And then the Texans go back and it's tied at 3. And it's just like, what? This is the weirdest game I've ever watched. But the Texans hung around. I don't know if they actually should have won the game, but the game was, I think, closer than all of us thought. Their defense was good. Ultimately, I was never in real fear for the Chiefs. Were you?
No, I wasn't at all. And CJ Stroud was better than I thought. Like remember his second playoff game last year, he went to Baltimore and got destroyed. And he was making plays with his legs. Like that's not really his game, what he was doing. And, he was hitting, his receivers and everything. I don't know. They stuck around and, there was like a 10-minute drive, that touchdown from Mixon. Yeah. That was huge. But then
receivers that we'd never heard of all year were we're like, that's his first pass attempt that's ever been thrown to him. It's round 2.
Yeah. So I don't even know where we are with CJ Stroud anymore, to be honest. I feel like that's just the guy you and I are going to flip-flop over the next 7 years a dozen times. But he did an admirable job, about as much as the lines makers thought, because it came down to that very half a point. Yeah. But I mean, shit. Are the Chiefs just playing a joke? Is it just like a clubhouse joke? Like, hey, we had 212 total yards. Can we win with 100 total yards? Spags, map it out. Let's see. You got us? We're good? Okay. I just feel like it's just a challenge for them to do so little and win.
I know, but it's like what we were talking about earlier with that Baltimore-Buffalo game. Like, they don't beat themselves.
Yeah, right.
Houston had that play. It was a 4th and 10 in the second half, and they kind of rushed it to the line. And who was the announcer? It was Aikman.
Yeah, it was Aikman.
He's like, I don't like this. They should call timeout. They were just going too fast. 4th and 10. I think he got sacked. It's like it's the little things you just can't do against the Chiefs. And then the other thing is January Kelsey, who's just a different human being than regular season Kelsey, who they put in the garage with that car tarp over him. And they're just like, maybe take it out for a spin on Sundays for 10 minutes. But in the playoffs, they actually use him, and their offense just felt a little more.
And yet it looks like he's attending an old timers game. He looks so slow compared to everyone else out there.
He looks like it's a snowy field, even though it's not. It looks like he's got the snowfield cleats on.
He's so open. He's got like 20 yards around him. Aikman's good because I really feel like he's, I don't know. Should we give awards for like comeback announcer of the year? And
comeback of the decade. Yeah, it's been the last, really since Romo got attention. Aikman took it up a notch.
And it's because he's angry. He'll like go
Yeah.
after. He and Buck do a good job going after the refs, and obviously they had the perfect game to do it for this.
Yeah.
But angry Aikman is just terrific. I mean, they must have. I don't remember a comeback like this. I don't know what they do before the game to get him so ornery. But good job.
That's the best. That was the best team this year, I think. Right? That was my favorite.
Yeah.
Buck
yeah,
Aikman.
they're very good. Yeah, they're very good. I do like Greg Olson though. I will say. I think I don't even want to say he's underrated because I think he's getting a good pop lately.
Houston special teams. That was another thing. It was a 3-hour murder for them. That was another reason they lost. That missed field goals, missed extra point, kick return, all kinds of shit. So they just weren't ready to win that game in KC. Right. We got a lot of Taylor Swift shots. Shout out to Tommy Alter in the background. I don't know if you saw him a couple times.
Oh, nice.
He's in there. Caitlin Clark, all the greats. But
yeah, when you have Taylor, Caitlin, and the freaking Rizzler there and the refs, forget it. Game over.
Rizzler. And then the safety. So this had one of the great gambling moments, I think, of the decade.
Yeah.
And this has been a cottage industry now because of Instagram Reels and TikTok. I don't know how long we've been talking about these stupid. Sure. This was beyond a bad beat. This was 14 seconds left. I still don't know what the point of the safety was. I guess to chew up. So basically, he runs backwards, runs around. It really feels like he's going to get like stripped or it's going to be like a touchdown in the end zone or something horrible. Then he gets out. And then they punt again. So I guess it saves 7 seconds. And I guess my question is, was that worth it? All the things that could go wrong with your punter running around backwards in cold weather. Like I'm positive I would just rather punt it and get rid of the ball and you can have the extra 7 seconds.
Depends who you bet. So I feel like nobody deserved to win this bet against the spread, right? Because they're up, what were they up? They were up 11, the Chiefs, and Fairburn tries a gimme field goal and misses. So now if you have the Texans, you're like, that sucks. They should have lost by 8, right? But then, all right, so now depending on what you got at 8.5 or 9, I think the reason they did that is because the only thing that would have killed them is a block punt. And then it wouldn't have killed them because they still needed to score twice.
How many block punts are you if you actually like trying not to get your punt blocked? I don't know. It felt like an overthink.
It was a little much.
So the other thing was the line was 8.5 all week. When we were doing Ringer Sunday pregame show on Saturday, it was 8.5 before you guys started the show. And then as the game got closer, it jumped to 9.5. So people got that Chiefs line somewhere around those two numbers, and then it ended at 9.
I feel like I should get an emergency alert on my phone if it moves to 9.
It does feel like that should be a Twitter account or emergency alert.
We've gotten so many of them lately. What the hell,
Well, so that was ultimately good for FanDuel.
That was bad for the books because you could have gotten 8.5 with the Chiefs. So
if you're betting KC up, you win, and if you bet Texans 9.5, you. Yeah, I never.
Yeah, no, that one's kind of that they got screwed by that point. So everybody was saying, "Oh, it's rigged for the books and everything." No, that's not the example you want to use. They lost both ways. But I'm trying to think in general if they lost money. Like you and I are idiots because
the Washington they cleaned up. That Washington game made their playoffs.
You think it did? Because
God, yeah. It wasn't just the game. It was all the Lions bets. It was the Lions to win the NFC. It was the Lions Super Bowl bets. They were like really badly exposed with the Lions. And then on top of it, everybody and their brother, including us, had some sort of tease with the Lions, the Eagles, the Chiefs, Ohio State, whatever. The Lions were in a lot of them.
But the kids love the same game parlays, and you couldn't miss with a same game parlay or a game that had how many points? 76. I don't know. It was just all over.
The kids really do love the same game parlays. Does Harrison like the same game parlays? Is he old enough yet?
I think he's too young. Yes, I got scared when you said that.
Six months from now, when he turns 11, maybe he can do them
by the spring.
No, I think Washington made FanDuel a lot of money.
All right.
I think there were a lot of futures that could have been pretty bad because there was a moment, and we had some Lions bets. They were somehow undervalued, even though they were clearly the best team on paper in the NFC. So
I doubled up. They were even to win the conference before Saturday. I was like, that's ridiculous. They'll take care of the Commanders, and then they'll beat up whoever, especially if the Eagles come to town, but not meant to be.
I'm going to go on the record. I just blanket hate the safety running around to kill time to send it from 13 to 11 or
The punter.
whatever,
Yeah.
11 to 9. I'm just out. I don't like that play. I
Yeah.
don't trust safeties. I don't trust kickers. I don't trust any
Right.
special teams. Like guys running around and all of a sudden he like gets and all of a sudden the ball's rolling around the end zone. I'm not taking the risk.
I'm with you. And this is where we should have bettor's insurance, right?
Yeah,
But
they're true.
yeah, but yeah, also, yeah, if you're receiving the punt in the end zone, maybe, but don't run back a quarter of a mile to
Right.
run out of the end zone. Stupid.
Yeah, there's a couple things. Maybe I've just been watching football too much for too many weeks in a row, but I can't watch another fair catch in the 5 yard line.
Uh,
I just can't. Or the fair catch in the 7. I can't watch the guy punting on the other team's 40, somehow punting it out of bounds anyway. It just seems like anyone we know should be able to just punt like a little dribbler 25 yards that rolls out on
right.
the 10. It just doesn't seem that hard. The
What?
holding on the kickoff, I just like I would tell
Always.
everyone on my team, like that guy today on the Ravens who gets the hold where he's just bear hugging the dude from behind.
Right.
It's just an automatic. You're waived if if you hold on a kickoff, you're waived. Your
I'm with
job.
you.
I'm taking your job.
Most of those guys, that's all they do is they're on the kick return or the punt return team. So
Just don't hold. You have one
learn
job.
not to
Don't hold anyone. That's it.
Yeah.
Don't
With
hold
the
anybody on the other team.
with the punt return, that was like forever when we were growing up. It was like, all right, stand at the 7. If you have to take one step back, let it go over your head. That seemed to work out. I don't know why they
Right.
changed that. What's the new edict?
I don't get it either. Well, this was a great weekend for the Chiefs because I think the Ravens would have been a much tougher opponent for them than the Bills. I also think they'll probably not say this publicly, but I think there's a lot more animosity with Buffalo than maybe Baltimore. I think that Buffalo Chiefs thing is a real thing.
Yeah.
And I just like the Chiefs. I can't wait to do guest
The
lines for
Chiefs,
that one.
they big brother the Bills, I think. They're like, yeah, we didn't even care that you beat us in the
Yeah.
regular season.
Come on, let's play
Yeah,
again.
we get it when it counts.
It's very similar to the Pats Colts dynamic
Mm,
that didn't really totally shift until the 2006 AFC title game.
right.
So maybe that'll be the Bills version of that. Maybe they will be the Indy, but the problem is the game's in KC. All right, next one. We'll go Eagles Rams. We'll save the Lions game for last because that's gonna be really fun to talk about.
Be hurtful.
I
Yeah.
I was thinking with Eagles Rams, this is like the perfect Eagles win for the Eagles fans that we know in our lives,
Yeah.
right? Kind of ugly. They had the game. They kind of fucked it up in the last 4 minutes. Sirianni and Hurts, still a lot of question marks. Um, it was a win, but it also was kind of like you escaped by the skin of your teeth. And then the only thing everyone can agree on is that Saquon Barkley is like the greatest Eagle of all time. And they all love Saquon Barkley. And he had another like magical game. It was basically
Yeah.
like an AI spitting out an Eagles win in round 2 of the playoffs was how I felt.
That's excellent. And I think you're right because the most important thing for Eagles fans is that they're angry at their team. And
That's
because
it.
they let up the last touchdown and almost another one that would have lost the game, they could still be angry at the team, but they get to watch them play another game. I think that's
They get
perfect.
another
Yeah.
one, but they get say, oh, I forgot Jake Elliott. That's another one. Jake Elliott
Oh
missed
yeah.
the 2 extra points, but made some
Yeah.
big field goals, but they could be mad at him. They could be mad at some of their strategy. It was perfect. Hurts, strange one. He had the long touchdown drive. He throws for 128 yards. Last week he threw for 131. So he's still 41 yards away from a 300-yard game. That's going to have to take him 3 games
Yeah.
to
He has
get to.
4 playoff wins. Let me just add to that while I have it here. 4 playoff wins, career high passing in those games, 156.
So weird. I don't completely trust him when I watch him. We both had the Eagles in a tease, but they were also 6.5. They somehow not cover, but I never feel 100% comfortable with
No.
him. And then the AJ Brown is another one. Like he had another huge drop. In the
Right.
end zone, he had like a touchdown and screwed it up. So they've been getting nothing out of him. I don't remember how many things Devonta Smith did in that game. Goddard seemed like he was like their most reliable receiver, but
I felt the tight ends
Barkley was incredible.
in every game should have been hit more, right? Except for maybe
Yeah.
Andrews at the end. But Goddard, Ertz did an amazing job. We'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, and then the big moment for me with Hurts is like, what the hell? You not getting rid of that ball? Another safety that didn't make any
Oh my
sense.
God. Well, and they fucked up the end of the second quarter too. That was another one where
Right.
they're up three, driving. All of a sudden they're going backwards. Then they're just letting the clock run out because he took a sack. He took another bad sack for that safety.
Yep.
So, I Washington's a live dog to me. They're the classic playing with house money, a lot of momentum. They're really good on offense. They're definitely not afraid of the Eagles. They beat them last year when they sucked. You
Yep.
know.
Beat them this
So
year, beat them last year. That's going to be a fun one. All of a sudden, it's okay rooting for the Cowboys. We were easily in the best division in football. Like if you had to repower rank everybody, Cowboys would be like fifth or something in football in the NFL.
well, I was gonna say if I told you in late August, two NFC East teams will be playing to make the Super Bowl in the third weekend in January, you'd have been so pumped.
Yeah, that's not
You'd
as
be like,
fun
this
to
is amazing. I mean, I
consider it
can't
that
believe
way.
we're one win away from the Super Bowl.
We're playing the Giants. How did this work out? Yeah.
It was two
Yeah.
teams, and it was like then the other two choices were the Commanders or the Giants.
Right.
You wouldn't have ever thought. We both like the Commanders. We went over on them. I mean, they have 14 wins.
I had them to make the playoffs, but I did not think they'd have 14 wins. But it is interesting how that became the division, right? And the NFC North I keep comparing it to the SEC, who has no participants in tomorrow night's game. Just off. I think they were 29-4 outside of division and then just got murdered in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think we did a podcast segment probably 4 weeks ago where we were wondering if they had the three best teams.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't.
They don't. We don't have to worry.
Fast forward to the end of the movie. They did not. There was a cold weather element to this Eagles game too, with the toughness, the Rams. Nakua had a huge drop. Kyron Williams had the fumble. Stafford had the fumble. And we live in LA. We talk about this a lot on the pod about how we're both from the East Coast. I was a guy that was always like, I wouldn't throw a coat on when it was 20 degrees outside unless I really had to. The wind chill was bad. Lived out here for 3 years. And then when I go back east, I'm fucking freezing every time. I get it. When the Rams go to Philly, it's like, I get why Nakua probably, like a pass goes through his hands. It's hard to get used to.
Yeah, there was one indoor game. The other three, I would say this clearly gave one of the teams, the home team, the advantage, the weather, right? The cold weather and the slipping all over. And you just knew Barkley was going to break one of every 3 or 4 runs. He's just crazy. I don't know if he was going to slide short of a touchdown, which he likes to do, but it is incredible what he put himself through and everybody else.
Yeah, Schrager asked me during the game. He texted me, "Do you think is this a good way to decide a playoff matchup where the weather comes in and you have a situation like that Eagles Rams game today?" And to me, 100% yes.
Yeah.
It's such a huge part of football. I even think back to like that Chargers Bengals game when we were kids in 1980. And I love that Chargers team. And then they go to Cincy and it was like minus 230 degrees and the Bengals just beat them. But it's like, that's why you play for home field advantage. Like you want people to come to your house. And especially if it's like a team like Miami last year playing in, were they Buffalo or KC, Kansas City?
Yeah.
It's just part of football. I love it. So you like it too, right?
I love it too. I have some buddies that like are just like, nah, this is just, we're not seeing the best of every team if they're playing with a shiny K ball that they can't hold on to. I do like the home field advantage. Am I a hypocrite to say I don't like it in the Super Bowl? I didn't like it when Denver played Seattle and it just looked like, oh, this is going to be a shit fest. But put those in a warm weather climate. But I like everything leading up.
Yeah, I think that's the right take. Yeah, because I remember one of the years when we beat the Colts, I say we talk about the Patriots like I was on the team. There was one like super. It was the one when the fans were chanting cut that meat at Peyton Manning because he had the cut that meat commercial.
Oh yeah.
And it was just freezing. They scored 3 points, and it was like a combo of our defense plus like just how cold it was, and it was like that's why we won. It was really that was it. The cold weather has been a big advantage for the Pats over the years. I think Buffalo's won a couple. The Chiefs definitely, but I like it. I personally,
I guess John Jastrzemski would have a different answer. It depends who you root for, right? If you're a Dolphins
fan, right? Yeah, or a dome team.
To me, if you're a historian and you love NFL films and you love watching that, and just like there's nothing better than, guys grinding it out.
Well, because sometimes it'll be two cold weather teams in bad weather, and those are usually great too. Like the Packers, what was that? Packers Giants 08.
Packers Giants, yep.
Freezing. It was like 1 degree, and but at least the Giants were used to it. Did not feel like the Rams were that used to it today. Really good Rams here. Definitely. And not only did they make the final 8, it felt like they were pretty close in that game, and it was very similar to the Baltimore thing, where it's just they made some dumb turnovers. Philly had a couple dumb plays on their own end, but not as dumb as
we almost had a 7 versus
stuff.
6 in the NFC Championship, right? Like the Rams almost had a home game. What it would have been nuts to think a month ago, but yeah, I'm proud of that team, and they did a nice job.
Can I give a shout out to Jack Wilson, the producer of
I don't think
the
it's
Ringer
a good
Sunday
idea.
pregame show?
Okay.
Text from Jack Wilson, 12:30 Pacific time.
Mm-hmm.
This is when the Rams are looking good in the Eagles game. It's like first quarter, the Rams are moving the ball. Text me, if the Rams win and House comes to LA next weekend, do we want to bring JJ out too? Since Raheem is in Vegas, that's easy because then we could all do the show in LA.
Great.
It wasn't even the end of the first quarter yet, so I just sent him back Jinx text.
Yeah,
and then Jack texted me back, shit, sorry, don't tell House. Well, House is finding out right now.
House is all right. House is going to play either way next week. It's the Rams fans.
He's good.
And you know what? Let's give Jack Wilson's phone number on here so people could, if the Rams fans, we'll give it at the end of the show. Yeah.
No, House is happy because now that's a short ride to Philly. I talked to House today, actually, before the Philly game. He's obviously out of his mind, but we were talking about how crazy it would be if it was a Baltimore Washington.
Oh yeah.
Like Super Bowl, have two teams located closer to each other ever played in a Super Bowl. And we were like, this has to, like, it's never been in New York. Jets versus no, that's never happened. And it was almost like too weird. So the gods decided, yeah, this isn't happening.
Yeah. Wait, there is no answer, right? The answer,
I don't think so.
You'll have some Midwest. Wait, try Tampa.
No, I don't think it's ever.
Through all of them.
Yeah, I don't think it's ever happened.
All right. Yeah, House is he's not going to Philly, is he?
Oh yeah, he's going.
He's gonna go.
Oh yeah.
They have to be on their best behavior now, the Eagles fans, because they're all recorded and they're gonna lose their jobs if they curse or do anything.
Good. I feel like they're gonna keep.
It's all fine now.
Let's take another break for the pod, and then we will talk about Washington and the Lions. We're gonna stay here on YouTube. So, Washington Lions game of the weekend. Possible game of the year, certainly the most dramatic. I went to UFC last night, and I was just like, I'm going to watch this game when I get home. But I was kind of checking my phone, and every time I checked my phone, the score was different. It was one of those games. But this will be my first question for you. Is this it for the Lions? Was this their window, these 2 years? Can they get back? Is it ever going to get better than this for them?
Well, that's like 7 questions. My God. Yes.
Well, it's all the same question.
They'll get back. Yeah. No. I know what you're saying. I think Campbell's good. I think their offense is excellent. I think that defense was decimated. I think after a while, you just can't. They lose 3 more defensive players during the game. The cornerback goes out immediately. You just can't put bodies in eventually. I don't want to take anything away from Jayden Daniels because I want to make a case for him being the best rookie postseason quarterback we've ever seen. But that said, for God's sakes, how many guys have to go down, right? And I don't know. Again, I don't know that that division is so tough. After all, I don't think he's going to see Minnesota with 14 wins again. So I think they can come back. Go ahead, counter.
I don't think their defense was why they lost the game.
No.
I'll just read you some plays.
45 is a lot of points, but you don't think so?
3rd and 1. They're up 7-3 in the Washington 25. They're passing for some reason, and Goff gets strip sacked over and over again. Remember the first month of the season when the Lions didn't start out well? Yeah. And they were throwing the ball a ton. And we were talking about them on the pod, and I was saying, I'm still in on the Lions. I just think they're a running team that for some reason is trying to air it out. I think they need to flip the seesaw and become like a pound the ball running team. They went back to the old first month of the season Lions again. They threw the ball over 40 times. Gibbs touched it 20 times total. He was, every time he touched the ball, it was 10 yards. It barely seemed like he had it. So that play was terrible.
That play, he wasn't even in on that play. It's an empty backfield on 3rd and 1. And you got Gibbs. I think at the time he was averaging 19 yards a touch. And he's not even,
keep him in the game. He should be in the game on every 3rd and short.
Yeah, as a decoy. But that's awful. That play, I hate that. Yeah.
You have Goff sailing the pick 6. And if you freeze it, his receiver is in the middle of 4 guys. He's surrounded by like a gang of players. There was really, it would have had to have been the all-time perfect throw. He sails it, pick 6, almost gets concussed. He throws that end of the pick at the end of the 2nd quarter on the post play where the guy's open. He throws it to the wrong spot.
Brady call. Yeah.
And then the Jamison Williams, that option pass with the receiver, it's the biggest series of the game. It's 38-28. You have to score. You still have the whole 4th quarter, basically. You have to get 3 or 7. And they put the entire game in the hands of a receiver who never throws. And of course, he makes a dumb decision. It's not that it's like, oh, he shouldn't have thrown it. You shouldn't put him in the position to throw it. That was a classic Ben Johnson. Just like, look at me. Hey, look at me. Watch these cool plays. It's like, you know what works? Fucking Jahmyr Gibbs. Just give him the ball. Why are you?
I wonder.
Pass plays?
Do you think that was a directive to Jamison Williams to just throw it no matter what? We don't care if the guy's triple teamed, or hey, you're the fastest guy on the field. Let's take it outside, and only if he's wide open will you throw it. I think it's somewhere in between. But the Ben Johnson thing is interesting, right? Like all these coordinators get jobs, unless they're on the Super Bowl winning team, their last game is almost always terrible, right? Like Shane Steichen, we've seen it. Like it just almost has to be. And you're right. He had like 4 or 5 really curious calls, but 45 points is a lot for the other team.
If you give Harrison a giant package and you park across the street from FedEx, you're like, now cross the street and deliver it, and I want you to, and he fucks it up. Is that your fault or Harrison's?
My wife would probably say it was my fault. Yeah.
Because it's like, here's Jamison Williams. He's rolling out to the right, and the guy's not open. He's not a quarterback. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe he made a terrible decision and threw the ball anyway.
Yeah,
but this happens every week in football.
If I told Harrison, don't cross the street unless there's not a car visible for a quarter of a mile on your left or right, I think it's a different thing. I don't know what he said. You're right. It's dumb. That they should have handed off and they should have run more. Because if they go up 14-3, that 3rd and 1 play, they're up 7-3.
Right.
They go up 14-3. That building's bananas. It's a whole different story. It was already loud. And then maybe, I don't know. Maybe they don't come back, Washington.
Their defense had 2 fuck ups. The McLaurin, the RPO touchdown. And both guys it was like comical how bad the tackling was.
Right.
So that was bad. The 4th and 2 inside the 5, they're down 3. It's 31-28, and they have 12 men on the field. Inexcusable. But for the most part, like, I thought Daniels was incredible. And to just say, oh, the Lions defense came up big a couple times. Like, they came up the first quarter, they were really good. The beginning of the 3rd quarter, they stopped them on the first drive to get the ball back. Daniels, that throw he made to De'Ami Brown, that 50-yard Russell Wilson moon ball where he's covered by 2 guys and just catches it in stride on 4th and 2, like some of the RPO stuff he did, like nobody's stopping that.
He was great. But I mean, what's going to be your bottom line here? If they give up 60, is that a bad outing? Like 45 still.
I just think if they don't turn the ball over, they outscore the Commanders and they win.
Daniels was great.
Daniels was great. Didn't turn the ball over once.
Blitzing the shit out of him. Right. And I bet him to throw an interception. I'm like, nothing against Jayden Daniels. This is just such a tough spot and it's such a loud place. And if he drops back 35 times, one of them is going to end up in a Lions defender's hands. But he was getting blitzed. He was like waiting, and he always there was always a guy open. He was so smart. And then, that 12 men on the field was disastrous.
But I mean, really the 4th quarter yardage, the game was once it's 38-28 and Williams throws that pick, the game's over. I'll say this with Daniels. I said this to House today. And we should have the Daniels how special he is combo. Yeah, he was so good in that game. And he had a couple highlight plays, but for the most part, he's always doing the right thing. He's always calm. He never turns the ball over. Like if you compare him to Lamar today, I think it's a real conversation. Is it where he ranks on like what playoff QBs would you trust the most? Because what he did last week against Tampa, what he did in that Detroit game on the road in a dome where it's super loud and he didn't fuck up once for 3 hours. It's fucking
can't
surreal.
break him. You can't break him at all. Like mentally, he's just on a different level
He's
altogether.
smiling. He's like having a great time. He's just like, look at this.
He's like smarter than Vince Young with all the physical, the comparisons. And I'm trying to think what you do, because you can't compare him to any of the other rookie quarterback playoff performances. He's better than Flacco was. We never thought Flacco would
No, I did these on Thursday. All the guys were pretty.
What is it? It's Flacco, Purdy, and
Sean King,
Sanchez.
Yeah, Sanchez.
Well, King won a game, but only 3 got to the championship game. I think it was Sanchez,
Sean King
Purdy,
did too.
and Flacco.
Yeah.
No, not the championship game. He did.
Yeah, there was 5. I had it. Hold on.
Really?
I had it in my.
Was it Big Ben too? Oh,
yeah, and Big Ben was the other one.
All right.
No, I think the comparison to me, I think Mahomes is the comparison. Even though Mahomes, he had like a gap year his first year on the Chiefs. But you think like Daniels was in college for 5 years, Mahomes was in college for 3, and then had the gap year. So they're around the same age. And then Mahomes goes in that first full year as a starter, and he's incredible, and he almost beats the Pats, and he almost beats Brady. I think that's the level it's at. And we saw like when we were kids, like Marino as a rookie, he was awesome that first year, and then that second year made the Super Bowl, or didn't make the. Did he make the? Yeah, he did make.
No,
the
second one he made. That's when he had like 47 touchdowns. Yeah. So
but it's on that level already, and it's a weird one because the Pats. I love Drake May, and I'm fine with how it turned out. But it was a big one of. There was 2 months leading up to that draft last year where it's like, is Washington going to take Drake May or Daniels? And who do we want? And every Pats fan, we're all talking about the same thing. And it came down, Daniels was 3 years older. Well, he was in college for 5 years. He's going to get hurt. He's so skinny. And, he got hurt there in the middle of the year. House and I were talking about this today. They kind of threw us off their scent because they played really well for the first 6 weeks.
Right.
He got hurt. And then it was pretty rocky, and he was clearly hurt for 4 or 5 weeks. Then Eckler got hurt. And they didn't really start to become the team they were in the first month, I don't feel like, until that Tampa game, right? Or maybe like week 18.
It's a weird trajectory, right? So you don't want to peak at the wrong time because it's very hard to play great football for 17 weeks, 18 weeks. So there was those weeks 2 to 6 or whatever where he didn't throw an incomplete pass or some shit. It was really weird, right? It was just dominant. Then you're right. They had the rib injury and whatever. They weren't as good, but he picked up perfectly. That Atlanta game, that was only a couple of weeks ago on Sunday night. If they lose that, that's a whole different, this whole shakes up differently, the seedings and everything. So yeah,
or Tampa 2nd and 1. They have a chance to potentially go up 4. 2nd and 1 gets stuffed. 3rd and 1, they screw up. It's the snapped at the wrong time. All of a sudden they're kicking a field goal and
they never get the ball.
I'm sure Tampa's like, we should have beaten these guys. Now they're in the fucking NFC title game. This sucks. Yeah. But the last piece with Daniels, I don't want to say I really wanted to ask you who would you rather have, and have Daniels versus all of these veteran quarterbacks we have, but we need to see him win a cold weather game before we have a full feel for like this. Detroit was a dome. He's going to be going to Philly next week. It's going to be cold. The field's going to be, of fucking concrete. He's going to have this big defensive line. And if he's as good as he was in Detroit in that scenario, I don't know what the ceiling is at that point.
No question about it. Yeah. The Eagles are praying for weather conditions like today, right? They didn't even have the game moved to somewhere like Anchorage, Alaska or something. Because, that's the only key. That's the only thing we're missing. And their coaching staff, they did a great job. They did a great job drafting, and the GM, and they got the terrible owner out of there, Snyder. I feel like Dan Quinn, if you don't ruin his life with the 28-3 game, is Dan Quinn like a top 2 or 3 coach in the league?
It's why it was a good hire, even though we all kind of were like, oh, my God, Dan Quinn? You could add Ben Johnson. But when somebody's had real success the first time they were a coach, where you can go back and watch that Super Bowl and 13 plays in a row have to go well for the Pats, for the Falcons not to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Maybe not entirely his fault. Yeah.
Yeah. Some of it was his fault, but he's clearly like a good coach. He was great for you on Dallas. But,
he was, but that's another example of a guy who his last game was bad and they still hired him away, right? The Packers game was just miserable. So it's funny how it works out.
I'm not ashamed to admit I'm on some Pats threads where Washington has now become the North Star for the Pats, where it's like they sucked last year. They got the second pick. They had nothing. They get the franchise QB. They get a good coach. They get a good coaching staff. They make some smart signings. They have a good draft. Some of the guys that were already on the team, they coached up so that they're actually better assets than were a year ago. They had an easy schedule. All these things where it's like, why can't that be the Pats? So thank you, Washington. You've given us hope here with
this is why football's great.
New England. Yeah, you never know.
We don't need 6 new playoff teams every year, but if we get 3 and one of them's like Washington has a real run at this and almost plays the Rams in the championship game, it's dynamite stuff. I'm gonna miss it.
Well, we talk every year about the circle of teams that have a chance to win the Super Bowl, and then it comes down to these goofy plays like Mark Andrews dropping the 2-point. Like Tampa not getting a first down when it's 2nd and 1. And for the what level are you at? How close can you be to winning a Super Bowl? I did not have Washington in the circle. Even heading into this Detroit game, I thought the line was too high. I never would have played Detroit 9.5. I kind of like some of the alternate Washington lines. Like they were +3.5, they were +190. And yet their defense seemed like it was such an overmatch in that Lions game. I couldn't figure out how their defense was going to stop them. Right. And the answer was Jared Goff has to completely suck.
Yeah.
That was the one factor I didn't factor in. It's like, what if Jared Goff is just terrible? And he was.
What if they forget that Gibbs is on the team, despite the fact that he has 19 yards of carry every time he touches?
What if they what if they have an option pass with their receiver on their biggest drive of the game?
Yeah.
And then we also had the Teddy Bridgewater has come into the game moment, which was pretty exciting. Teddy Bridgewater was coaching high school, and all of a sudden it seems like Goff's concussed, and anyone who had the Lions in a tease is like, oh my God, I can't imagine what that game was like. Like, talk about the extremes of like, if you're a Lions fan and you're in there with the Bills and the Vikings and all these tortured franchises, but you also don't really have any terrible playoff losses because you've just been terrible. You know what I mean? I have losses to point to.
Right.
And now you have one of the worst losses we've had this decade where you can go back and just drive yourself crazy with 20 plays.
And you have people like me and you saying, is that it? Is the window closed on this team that won like 15 games?
Well, think about it. They might lose both their coordinators.
I know. Yeah.
They're never going to be, you can never trust Goff in the same way again. I don't think. You know,
I think they can get
can you
this
ever
far
feel great
for
about
the
him?
next couple of years, but yeah, this should definitely have been one they rolled. It's they might have taken him lightly too.
Well,
Laporta's catch was dynamite. Like there were so many turning points, right? When the 76 points, when the 76 points scored, you could point to 30 plays. Like, oh, had this gone different. But when Laporta catches the ball and doesn't make use of one of his arms, it's like, oh shit. All right, that's it. They're toying with them now, but wasn't the case.
Really tough loss. Tough loss for us. We had Lions Super Bowl bets that I somehow didn't properly hedge with Washington.
You know what happened? You know, I think the gambling god said to, all right, Sal, Bill, you had a good year. You bet all these money line favorites. You got to keep your money.
Yeah.
New year. Not
we were
so
due
fast.
for a kick in the teeth.
We're not letting you win with another big favorite. Your wager warranty has expired. Pay the fuck up.
So if those teams play 10 times, how many times do the Commanders win? Would you say 3?
No, maybe 4 though.
Maybe 4. Okay.
I'm still saying the Lions. They had a ton of yards. I wish they had like 2 defenders back, like 2. Just 2 out of the 20.
Because I watched the whole game this morning knowing what happened. And I thought it was going to be way more one-sided toward Washington. And I'm watching it. I'm like, the fuck did the Lions lose this game? Every time they give the ball to Gibbs, he rushes for 12 yards. Or it's like a 15-yard screen pass. It's like, what happened in this game?
Stupid. I don't know why.
Daniels was great. And by the way, they hit those 4th downs. You feel like every 4th and 2, 4th and 3. That's the situation where I always feel like they're going to get it. There's other teams.
Yeah,
not as
well,
sure.
You got the kicker massaging his scalp in all different OCD directions on the sideline. You're like, yeah, he's not ready. Jayden, you're gonna have to take a snap here. Sorry.
Yeah, his fingers are embedded. Jayden Daniels. We have a lot of Washington fans in our life. This is just one of the most unbelievable turnarounds I can remember. We had, even when this happened to the Pats fans with Brady, we were still immersed in that whole Brady or Bledsoe. Who's the starter? And then we had this crazy, Cinderella run to the Super Bowl, which you lost a lot of money on.
Right.
And even at the end, we were like, okay, Brady, I guess, like he's good. But this Jayden Daniels thing, this is like if you're just talking about the elite QBs that you feel the best about, he just has to be in the first sentence now with all these other guys. It's one of the best rookie years I can remember.
And I'm with you with that. Like we went over the others, like, but
he's on that Mahomes 2018 level of like, this guy's here now and he's gonna be here for 20 years.
Okay, but if Joe House is just getting really loud and obnoxious with us, could we throw the hey, remember RG3 card at him? Will we be able to do that? Like, or is this completely
I don't know.
different? I mean, they were excited about him for over a year.
I know, but we were there for the RG3 thing. It was really fun to watch.
Yeah.
This is different. And first of all, this guy's pulling out huge wins. He's this double threat. He's incredibly accurate. I have a lot of regrets. Like, I really wish, I know we say this after the fact, but I really wish I had put more thought into the nobody believes in us part with Washington, because you could feel it in the game, and especially the quotes after. Like, that team's got a chip on its shoulder, and I don't know. I felt like, looking back, a team that has a shitty defense or a mediocre defense, whatever you want to call the Lions defense, favored by a big spread against a team that's clearly good offensively, that completes a lot of passes and can run the ball. I'm never doing that again. I'm taking the underdog the next time.
You got to write that down. We're not going to remember.
I'm going to add that to the playoff manifesto. It's like, bad defense, team that completes 70% of its passes and doesn't turn the ball over. The other thing that happened, which I don't know if that's going to get momentum this week or not, but Kingsbury, the Washington OC, grew up in Texas.
Yeah.
Is it like, could that be the Cowboys coach? And when you watch what he's done with Daniels and with Washington's offense, is that a better option than some of the options I've seen, which you showed me at Shaky's
it's
today?
a better, of course.
Robert Saleh.
Yeah. That list I showed you was the Shaky's of coaches list, by the way. It really, it was Robert Saleh. It was, Flores was in there. Kellen Moore. Deion Sanders, of course. Jason Witten. I guess we're just going to keep trying Jasons until one of them works. Like, I don't freaking know. Yeah, bring Kingsbury in. No, and people didn't want to interview him, right? Like, the Steelers passed on him last year for defensive coordinator. 3 teams didn't even want to hear from him this year. It's a little strange.
It went awful for him in Arizona, and there's a chance it went awful because maybe there was stuff. Maybe there's a weird organization, weird quarterback. But
Kyler's I think tough. Yeah, Kyler's a tough one to
I can't really 100% hanging on him for that. All right, we're gonna take one more break for the pod, and we're gonna do Guess the Lines. Staying here on YouTube. So before we do Guess the Lines, we were all together.
Yeah,
we went to Shaky's today. The original Shaky's. We used to go to Shaky's Pizza, which we've joked about for years and years in this pod, was on Santa Monica in a not awesome area of Hollywood. And we used to go there, and it was pretty grim. Well, that's gone. It did not survive COVID, and there's a chance it could have started COVID. We're not sure. It either started in Wuhan or at Shaky's in Santa Monica. So we had to go to Shaky's on Sunset Boulevard, past the 10, past where Netflix is, little down further, going toward the Scientology place. And and we all went, and it was like a really nice time. And they had a lot of TVs, and it was pretty clean, and it wasn't the Shaky's I was accustomed to.
I pulled into the parking lot. There were some models, cars it seemed like they were made, after 1979.
They might be able to be driven of more than 20 minutes.
Right. Yeah. And it was clean. The bathroom, I clenched my fist, but it was good. And, food still, whatever, but it's fine.
We'll post on Instagram. We took a Shaky's.
Oh yeah.
Shaky's team photo.
I wasn't going to go. And then John Hamm's like, you're going, right? I'm like, this is kind of weird if this guy who's in like 700 movies currently.
I know, he just died in Landman. It felt like we had to go pay our respects.
Oh, you son of a bitch. I'm behind. Why would you do that?
It was the season finale a week ago. It's a spoiler?
A little bit. I don't know. I mean, it's the first time I'm hearing it. All right, that's fine. I mean, he looked good today. I don't know. You're saying he died?
Is that a spoiler? Kyle, did I just spoil Landman?
A week?
It came out a week
what is
ago.
it? It's on Sunday?
How long do I have to wait? It was a week ago. Kyle?
At least 8 days, it turns out.
I think you could call it a spoiler. I think you could definitely call it.
Really,
Kyle?
Can we find out in the chat? Are they in the YouTube chat? Do they? whatever our chat.
I'm with you. Like 2 years is, if you're telling people the Sopranos
I'm going on
faded to black.
Chat.
What are they saying?
Nothing.
Give him
really.
Jack Wilson's number. Let him find out if this is a spoiler.
Tome says yes, that is a spoiler. 1 week is not enough. Matt Smith says massive spoiler. 2 weeks is the window. Did we decide that? Was that one of President Biden's last verdicts?
Yeah,
before he fell into the cement.
He's not going to pardon you, I hope, in his last few hours here. 2 weeks is for 2 weeks notice. You get 2 weeks notice, right?
God damn. I guess I spoiled. Sorry. The YouTube guys agreed. My bad. My bad, everybody.
I Jared Goff
the podcast.
Did he die at Shaky's? What happened? Did he eat something
well, I was saying to him, like
Mojo potatoes?
I wasn't positive he died, which means that they could always bring him back next season.
All right. Good.
Nice. Ham seemed in good spirits, though. I think he had a good time with it.
It's fun. And Brad went after you about your documentary. We don't have to go
into
the details. He gave you a very honest opinion. Yeah. So Shaky's, where you go for C- pizza and to get berated by
It was great. There was a moment where it felt like an LA sports bar. There were people rooting for the Rams.
It's true.
There was a basketball game on one side. I was like, all right, Shaky's.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I walked to and from to Shaky's, and there were a couple interesting moments in the way. Yeah.
Well, and especially since you didn't even know what kind of Shaky's you were walking into. Although I guess you knew the neighborhood, so it wasn't as scary.
Yeah, I was watching. I did this yesterday too. I was watching the game on YouTube TV, which I love YouTube TV. I'm so mad I didn't have it, but I'm not just saying that because we've done stuff with them.
By the way, I really like it. You heard the hack there, where you could turn off the 15-second delay?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
How did we not know about that?
I know they should let people know. I mean, that wouldn't count as a spoiler. That would actually be something good for everyone. Yeah.
But I was thinking because eventually I'm going to die by getting hit by a car in LA somewhere when I'm walking, because I'm going to be looking at my phone and somebody's just going to pancake me. But it will probably 50% chance it's during a football game that I'm watching on my phone and I'm just walking across the street. And it's like, what happened to Bill? Yeah, that was it. It finally happened. It's either that or me not wearing a seatbelt somewhere are going to be the two ways I go.
I can't imagine the idea of burning calories while watching a football game. I have to take.
It's really liberating.
A bite of something every play, and I
gotta say, every time Collinsworth talked, I was walking faster. Collinsworth was giving me energy. It was like a Gatorade.
Interesting.
He was having a great time.
You wanted to dive into traffic.
I didn't walk during the Brady thing.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, it was because that was the going to UFC yesterday, which I want to talk about after we do Guess the Lines. Guess the Lines. So let's set up the drama for Guess the Lines. You haven't beaten me since 1932, right before World War II.
Right. Before that,
yeah. You are up 1 week.
I'm up 1 week.
I can still win. I have to win this week, and I have to hit the Super Bowl and beat you both weeks, basically to win. You could clinch. You could beat me this week, and I honestly don't remember the last time you've won.
I don't either, and it's going to be liberating when I could smack you with a Subway sandwich. Although I'm almost positive you're going to guess these two exactly right. Look at you; you can't even hide it.
No, I forgot to make a guess for the other one. I have the Eagles-Washington guess.
All right, so that's the early game. That's 3 Eastern.
3 Eastern, Fox. Right.
Yep.
All right, so I'll just give you my thought process. It's in Philadelphia. Philadelphia was favored by 6.5 against the Rams. Now they're playing Washington, a team that's done pretty well against them. I think the line has to be less than 6.5. And I'm going to say Eagles by 5. Vegas zone.
You're going to be mad at me because it did an hour ago was 4.5, and I had guessed 5.5. And I swear on my kids, I like at least 2 of them. It's 5.5.
It's 5.5 right now?
It's 5.5 right now.
God damn it.
So I get that. So you have to get this one
to push. So now you basically clinched at least a tie for the season.
Clinched a tie. Yeah. And what's tiebreaker? I think I have better common opponents, so I think I'm going to win anyway.
Better schedule.
Yeah.
A sadder last 10 years.
I'll tell you this. I was off by a full point here. No, I was off by a half a point, but you could get this.
Kansas City hosting the Buffalo Bills. I thought about putting this in the tax zone, and I'm not going to. I'm going to say Chiefs by 2.5.
Oh, yes. Champion, baby.
What is it?
I said 2. It's 1.5. You should have put that
it's a fucking
motherfucker in the
zone.
tic-tac zone.
Is it 2.5 right now? Now I'm looking. Hold on.
1.5.
I don't trust you.
Yeah.
I don't trust you. I'm looking right now on FanDuel.
Go ahead.
America's number one sports book.
Spoiler alert. I win.
1.5.
Oh, this is nice. I feel good. My heart's like pumping a little bit for the first time all day. Wow.
So Washington to 11.5. Chiefs to plus 4.5.
Be careful. Yeah.
I'm just spitballing.
Yeah, that's probably right. Why do we have to tease it? We could pick 2 winners. Put Ohio State on.
Wow, I felt that way about the Ravens, and turned out it wasn't a winner. It was a big L loser. Well, congratulations.
Thanks,
I know
buddy.
nobody's
That's
happier
great.
for you than Dave Jacoby.
Yeah, we did it, Jacobs. Listen, I'll trade knowing the ending of Landman for my first title in 3 decades.
So, spoiler alert is 2 weeks.
I would think so. I think that's a fair place to start.
Is this President Trump has weighed in on this? our new president started tomorrow. Can that be one of his first rulings? Is the spoiler alert ruling?
Yeah. Yeah, it is funny with this stuff with you and I trying to figure out Lamar Jackson over props, and some 15-year-old makes like $35 million overnight buying a freaking coin.
The Haktua has to disappear after a crypto thing.
I got my wife the Haktua coin for Christmas. I haven't checked on it. I imagine it's
not doing well.
What? It's not
going badly. Yeah.
Another spoiler out of Bill. Thanks.
It's in bad shape. This edition of Parent Corner is brought to you by Hookah and Bondi 9, their new daily trainer. So you go first, and then I'll go.
All right. So my 11-year-old Harrison, we've talked about him a couple times already. So he and his class have what's called puberty night, where all the 5th grade boys go through puberty in the same night. No, where they get together and
I was really scared for a second.
No, I know. No, it's nothing like that. No, but some instructor comes in every Friday for 6 weeks and talks to them about, lectures them about like the body and the biological growth and the birds and the bees and everything like that. And it rotates at different houses. And it's going to be at our house next week. I think it's next week is our Friday. And I'm not invited to any of these. Like last Friday or the Friday before, there was football, it was college football. So I wasn't there. And last Friday was off. But I'm not invited. My wife has prohibited me from going because she thinks I'm going to make a mockery out of it. She's like, no, you're too immature. I was like, well, what are you talking about? She's like, well, like some.
What are you talking about? Here's 178 examples.
She said, well, I had to know. She's like, well, some of the fathers. I'm like, the fathers are there. It's like, yeah, they'll stand up and talk about like, the first time they had a boner in class or something. I'm like, what? All right, that seems fine. I could do something like that. They're like,
next time, Jimmy Kim Alive.
I'm like, like, you're going to go over the top. You're going to be too over the top. You're going to embarrass him in front of his friends. And that's going to be that. It's not good. So I don't know. Of course she's right. Of course they're right. But I want to see this because when it's at our house, I want to make hot dogs. I want to serve hot dogs. I think that'll be appropriate. But I think like, I don't know. Am I too immature for this?
Yes. I watch you during Jimmy's wedding. You tried to shove Dixon into the wedding cake and knock over a $25,000 wedding cake.
Oh, that was one of the more mature things I ever did. No, that wasn't good. I think I should do
this. We've told that story before. I don't think Dixon, if he was almost
I barely
like
tried.
He was like, no, you tried. It was
like a Jedi mind trick.
He was Jayden Daniels on the RPO, like just reading the defense. He saw you out of the corner of his eye and he jumped out of the way. And I don't know.
If it was Mahomes, the referees would have called it me.
He would have flopped right into the cake.
Even though I didn't talk. Yeah, he knew the cake was coming. No, but like Harrison, like he asked my wife, he said, like, when after all this, he asked her, when was your first wet dream? Like the kid's obviously confused. She's like, no. She answered, it was 1996, which is bad news for me. No. So anyway, these kids have a lot of questions. I don't know if I could help out, but I'm not allowed.
Wait, how old is Harrison now?
He just turned 11.
This feels early. What's going on in Manhattan Beach?
Oh, I don't know. Is that early? Yeah.
No, I remember I was reading a Judy Blume book when I was a kid. Remember Judy Blume?
Yeah, sure.
And there was a wet dream reference in the book, and my dad was driving, and I was reading the book, and the pastor scene. I was like, "Dad, what's a wet dream?" Like I didn't know, and he was like, "Ah!" I was like steering oncoming traffic.
I think that's what AJ Brown was reading on the sideline today.
Yes, inner excellence and wet dreams.
How did you find out? I mean, to friends and everything else, but was there like I do remember going to like a parent night. I think it was 5th grade, like where somebody set.
I don't remember. I just don't remember school talking about this.
Just health class, not until middle school.
Yeah, I remember like 8th grade was when that dialogue started. So anyway, you're banned from this parent night?
So far, I don't know what I have to do to prove myself, but
what do people on the chat? This YouTube chat's kind of fun. Yeah, that apparently somebody said it's called Embarrassing the Children 101. My parent corner, I took Ben to UFC last night. And
nice.
It was at the Intuit Dome where the Clippers play, which is my favorite arena. I sound like I'm a chauffeur
now.
I've loved it the whole time. No, I'm in.
Okay.
Oh, I'm in. I love it. Running a Corolla, and Corolla's all excited. And I'm with Ben and see Corolla, and Corolla's like, I got a special guest. It is a special guest. You're going to be surprised. I'm like, is it Joe Biden? He's like, not as high as Joe Biden, but high, almost as high. I'm like, all right. And it was Kevin Costner.
Wow.
So
nice.
We're in this row, and Corolla is sitting between Kevin Costner and Mel Gibson. And then a couple seats down is Anthony Kiedis, the Red Hot Chili Peppers lead singer. And sitting next to him is my son, Ben, because we were in this row of seats. And he's just like talking to the Red Hot Chili Peppers guy, watching UFC. And it's like the greatest night of his life. Like, because he's been waiting for this UFC card forever. And I was like, this is pretty cool. Like, I'm glad, we spend a lot of time together, obviously, but I was like, I'm glad we could do this. And he's really pumped. It's nice to, so just when I think we've peaked, Pereira's there. Like nice. Our favorite guy. That's his favorite. He's sitting over to the left. So now he's like staring him down, and he's like, how do we get the picture? How do we, like, we're just trying to figure out the Pereira picture, but he's sitting and there's like a barrier in front of him. There's people. And now I'm like, what happens if we go over? Do we do like get Ben in the selfie? Like how do we do it? And also the guy doesn't speak English. There's no way he knows who I am. Like, and ended up bailing on it and not being able to do it. But like for the last 2 hours, just trying to figure out, can we get the Pereira picture like this? So then we found out after that Frank Ocean was there, who is like one of Ben's favorite artists, who never leaves his house. He's like like a recluse, and it was like he was there too. So Ben's like, maybe it's not true because he saw it on like freaking Snapchat or whatever. So we're leaving after, and we're in the bottom where all the cars are, and O'Malley's coming out, and he's dressed like a crazy person in a good way. Ben's like, this is it. We got to get, and so we got the O'Malley picture. So it was a level B. It was great. It was one of the best pictures he's gotten, but we didn't get Pereira. How should we have attacked the Pereira picture, in your opinion?
Well, how far away was he?
He was like, we were on one thing. So he was like probably 90. We were sitting at 6 o'clock. He was at 9 o'clock, basically.
I think you just got to ambush him. I hate to say it. You got to just be that.
He had a huge guy next to him, like huge, scary guy next to him. And he was really into it because Hill and Yuri were fighting. So he was like locked in like a motherfucker for that fight, like, because he's beaten both those guys.
Yeah, maybe you corralled Mel Gibson to put him in some kind of chokehold, like Lethal Weapon 2 or something, the bodyguard, and then snap the picture real quick.
Well, then he came over to take a picture with Mel, so that was another thing. So he was like 15 feet away, but there was like 10, so we just couldn't pull it off. Yeah, but that was the most tough. That was the single most exciting celebrity that I've seen Ben from an excitement standpoint.
Really?
That we've been in the same room with. And we've, we went to a lot of cool wrestling events. You were with us for a couple of months.
Yeah, he had a Bella girl twerking about,
we had Nikki Bella twerking
8 feet from him.
2 feet from us.
Where does it, so if 1 to 10, what's wrestling? What's UFC for him? Live.
UFC's a 10 right now. Right. Wrestling was a 10 when he was like from age 6 to age 10. Now
it's like a 7 or something. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, now it's like a 5. UFC is like a full complete 10. But the funny thing with Pereira, because part of it was if it's like an actor, right? If it was like whoever, you'd be like, all right, we go over, like, they'll do it. But Pereira is just as intimidating when you're just watching him just exist as he is when he's in the ring. Like he was just motionless staring at the two guys. And he doesn't move. It's like watching Michael Myers. Right. So it's not like the number one guy you just want to be like, hey, buddy, can I get a picture? Because it looks like he's just about to kill somebody at all times. I was riveted by him.
Yeah, like Nick Diaz has that look too, Nate Diaz, but he's also a little more approachable too, right? I know what you're saying. He's Pereira's locked in.
The two best fights were Yuri and Hill. That was just a savage. Light heavyweight is such a great weight class. The guys just beat the shit out of each other. Every punch or kick seems like it could end it. And then Merab came out and just from the moment he came out, he stole the show. He had the crowd. And the crowd was for at least a couple of the matches incredibly loud and really into it. They were in with Merab they were just like living and dying with every time he did it. It was great. I had a great time. The main event sucked, but event sucked. That wasn't their fault.
Well, they had to move it around. Yeah, that was great. I mean, he was supposed to be minus 450. Did anyone there, including you, after the Lions lost, put Talbot on a big money line parlay? It was minus 1100. Oh yeah, and he lost.
You did that?
Yeah. Yes. He lost. That was he got killed. But anyway, no. But that's great. That's fun. And Adam, and he's a member of QAnon now, Ben.
Adam, he came over a few times, and he was progressively less sober each time, and having a great time. One of the funny things about UFC is after the fight, a guy loses. In the crowd, they'll cheer one guy or the other guy, but then they lose, and they'll interview the loser, and the crowd are still like booing the guy. Like, it's bad enough the guy just lost. Like he's like reevaluating his career, and it's like, let's bring him in, and they're fucking booing him.
Everyone becomes an Eagles fan all of a sudden. Yeah,
it's UFC is great. It's like one of the best in-person things. The crowd's hilarious. Everything about it's really good.
I'm glad it worked there, and I'm glad they kept it there. I know they were talking about switching it because of what's happening in LA, but I'm glad they showed that it could work, and I'm glad it was a good. It sounded
was good, and they
puberty night, that's for sure.
Yeah. They properly did the whole. They paid tribute and all that stuff. All right. Yeah. The Bondi 9 delivers peak plushness for everyday miles, overhauled from top to bottom. They've increased the stack height and added a new premium foam midsole to deliver that soft, resilient ride that's become synonymous with the Bondi. Everybody Bondi. Visit HOKA.com to learn more about the Bondi 9.
Well, you're going to have to say peak plushness again. That came out like Collinsworth doing the pass rush.
Multiple people texted me today that
I got it too.
He slowed down on pass rush.
Yeah, he really
kind of paused between the two words. Yeah, so you think somebody talked to him?
Yeah, but then he was right back to pronouncing it incorrectly. So it's there is good in the world.
Well, that's it for the podcast.
That's it, man.
That's it. Next time I talk to you, guess the lines. We're just gonna play it out of pride, I guess.
We'll still do it. It'll be like the Pro Bowl, whatever. Yeah, it's fun. Hey, you tried, kid. You really did. I'm gonna go on a nice.
What a win for you!
I'm very excited. I don't have to sweat out the Super Bowl.
It's funny you're wearing the Mets hat. Yeah, you don't have to sweat out the Super Bowl, the Cowboys, and neither of us have to sweat out baseball because the Dodgers are just, I guess, gonna win the next 5 World Series.
Trying to figure it out, and like we used to like the Dodgers. We talked about the Yankees of the the Jeter team and everything.
Yeah, the 90s, early 2000s. Pettit, the Giambi, Kevin Brown, and Randy Johnson.
You hated it, but Pettit, all those guys, mostly, and Jeter came through the farm system, and like you respected that. And now you just sign any free agent, and you're like, all right, tax us whatever it is, we'll bring it back because Japanese players, Japan will take care of us.
We're just printing money over in Japan.
They're going to spend money. Yeah. So we're trying to figure out what the equivalent of that is, like with Dubai. Like if the Red Sox sign like 3 players from Dubai.
Right, like a lefty reliever from Dubai who becomes the most popular person in Dubai.
Yeah, who cares if they're any good? You got all Dubai watching and spending money on it.
Well, the other thing we thought of was how the Seattle Mariners really missed this because they had Ichiro. They were way ahead of the game. They knew how much this stuff's worth, and they should have just been like, we're the Japanese American team. that like everyone in that country will root for the Mariners. They will associate their best guys with us, and we'll just overpay for every guy. And instead, they just gave that to the Dodgers.
Yeah, you're right, and that's a good spot for Asian Americans. Like they'll flourish there. That would have been a good spot. Yeah, they lost their basketball team, but that might have been the second worst decision, not capitalizing on that.
They had it. Ichiro was huge.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so we're not going to have to care about baseball. I'm on the fence. I might drop out of League of Dorks.
No,
Hench and I have been talking about it. Yeah,
no way.
It's too hard. It's just too old.
What do you mean? How do you have to change your lineup multiple times a week?
No, it's just we haven't won in a few years. It makes me feel bad about myself. I really want to reevaluate some of my fantasy league stuff. I'm in too many fantasy football leagues.
You love the guillotine, though, right? The guillotine's good.
Guillotine was good.
That's staying. Yeah.
Guillotine was good. I think we have to figure out our version of that. But have you gotten sad about no football yet?
Yeah, I'm starting to get no 3-team teasers anymore, right? Unless you
unless you do like the unders.
Yeah, that's another like milestone part of my year where it gets very sad. But what are you gonna do?
The Masters?
I was thinking about it. Yeah, we are going.
If FanDuel comes through, we're going to the Masters.
That's a challenge. I think they will. I think they're going to come.
I think they will. Well, the thing we have a very special guest coming with us this year potentially.
Is it Kevin Costner?
No, it's going to be James Baby Doll Dixon.
I love it. Now you said he wasn't as excited as when he got the invitation as you thought he should be.
It's a weird one. He always clears it with the wife.
Mm-hmm.
He won't just say yes. He'll say, it's a hesitant yes. I will let you know for sure tonight because he's very happily married. I think this is one of the reasons he never makes decisions where I'm going away for a week without making it a collaborative effort. It's something to aspire to, or you could just call him a giant wuss. Like, I don't know which side you want to be on that, but
I think the reason he does it more than anything is because he knows you and I could maybe talk about it on the podcast, and then he can maybe play it back to her. Like, you see, sweetheart, you see what I did?
I look bad.
It's going to be fun. I'm going to push him into a cake if I see one. I can't wait.
Well, it's watching him in the Masters on Augusta without a cell phone is going to single-handedly bring me out of the funk of that we started out here in January where it just seems like this is going to be the worst year ever. But it's like now it's like giving me hope and strength. Right. Because you have to give your cell phone to at the front. But I know he's going to bring like 3 cell phones. He'll have one like in his shoe. He'll have like almost like when people in prison movies put like a shank in their shoe. He'll have like a iPhone in his shoe somehow. There's no way he's not going to have a phone for 8 hours.
That's where I'll pounce. I'll blow the whistle on him right there. I'm like, hey, he's got his phone in his shoe.
Check him one more time.
Yeah. Keep checking him. Yeah, he does do that because we've been to like movie premieres and so not movie premieres, like concerts or something where you have to check your phone in that pouch, and you go through it and everything, and then like 20 minutes later, he's like, baby, I'm not gonna let them fucking take that. You fucking kidding? I'm like, what are you talking about? You were in the same line as me. How did you just pull that off? So
what would so if he does check the phone, but he'll have a pack of cigarettes.
Yeah, that was my next question for you.
Is he gonna have one pack or 2? He'll just have one, right?
They let you do that? You could blow smoke as Scotty Scheffler's doing his backswing
outdoors.
Yeah. All
right. Yeah. Nephew Kyle, he smoked. He smoked in the Masters. Yeah. He was very excitedly. He loved it.
Yeah, because you're not holding a phone. I might start smoking too. Oh.
There's so many great possible variables. It's really giving me strength. Like him getting super golf analysty as we watch guys on the 6th hole, and him repeatedly telling us how hard the shot is and doing all that stuff. It's going to be great. You shoving him into the gallery.
It's going to be good. Yeah.
He's got this 9.
Yeah, look at Rory's losing that 9-iron. Now he could probably I have my 9-irons better. It's much a higher quality. He might be able to use his, more skillfully, but mine's better. Mine's made in Prague. We're going to have fun. It'll be good.
I can't wait.
He might leave early. He might actually leave early.
What do you mean? Leave early to do what?
I might drive him so crazy that he's just like on a plane, like it foregoes the last couple of days.
When was the last time you were in a house with him?
It was one of the bachelor parties. Might have even been
like
Jimmy.
a what? But that's we're talking like
yeah.
10, 12 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
So he's going to have to demand he stays in a house that has a lock on the bedroom door that he's in.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, horrible things are going to probably happen to him.
I have a fun video where I threw water on him when he was taking a nap. Remember that one? It was like at a bachelor party, and I'm like, "Baby, I'm kidding. I'm kidding." He's like, "What the fuck you mean? You're kidding? I'm soaking wet."
Oh man! All right, Cuz, congrats on the Guest Alliance title this year.
Thank you, buddy.
Good job by you.
Come by next year. You'll be right there with me. Good job by you, bud.
Good job. Thanks to everybody who stayed on the YouTube stream with us. Thanks to Cerruti and Kyle and Gahau as well. And we'll see you next time, next Sunday after the 2 games.